Tragedy. Why are plane crashes so frequent and hard to stop? Why isn't advanced technology enough for safety? Have you ever considered that when we eagerly board a flight, ready to journey to a distant place, we might instead encounter a sudden, desperate disaster? Just today, June 12, such a tragedy unfolded in India. A Boeing 787 passenger plane crashed, instantly shattering the peace of countless families and casting a shadow over the global aviation industry once again. This incident is not simple, it hides many questions worth our in-depth exploration. Today, let's talk in detail about the hidden truths behind this seemingly accidental plane crash. The passenger plane crash in India instantly became a global focus. It's understood that the aircraft, a Boeing 787, was supposed to fly from India to London, UK. Who would have thought that less than 1 minute after takeoff, at an altitude of merely 625 feet, approximately 190 meters, its signal disappeared, and it subsequently crashed near a residential area in Gujarat. This terrified the surrounding residents, and the scene was chaotic. The Boeing 787 is known as the Dreamliner and has always been considered a relatively advanced and safe model. Yet, it has now become the world's first Boeing 787 aircraft to be completely lost due to a crash. How can this not be shocking and perplexing? Currently, all roads leading to the residential area have been closed, and relevant departments are fully engaged in rescue efforts. The Indian airport where the crash occurred has also had to suspend operations, with all flights grounded indefinitely. Gujarat Chief Minister Bhupendra Patel expressed deep sorrow over the accident and has instructed relevant departments to expedite rescue and treat injured passengers. India's Minister of Civil Aviation also spoke out on social media, saying he was shocked and saddened by the news of the crash, and that the Civil Aviation Department is on high alert. But for those who lost their lives in the accident and their families, is this perhaps a little too late? A look at global aviation safety. Let's broaden our perspective and examine the global aviation safety situation. In Europe and the US, the aviation industry developed relatively early and is more mature. Take the United States, for example, which has the world's largest air transport system, with tens of thousands of flights taking off and landing every day. However, even so, the US has not been able to completely eliminate aviation accidents. For instance, the 1979 American Airlines Flight 191 crash saw a DC-10 passenger jet lose an engine during takeoff, leading to the aircraft spiraling out of control and crashing. All 271 people on board died, along with 2 people on the ground. This accident is considered one of the most severe single aircraft accidents in U.S. history, exposing issues in aircraft maintenance, crew training, and airport management at the airline. Following this accident, the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, implemented a series of strict reforms, strengthening oversight of airlines, raising aircraft maintenance standards, and imposing stricter training requirements for flight crews. Since then, U.S. aviation safety significantly improved for a period. However, this does not guarantee that no more accidents will occur. Various aviation safety incidents, large and small, have continued to happen. What does this indicate? Aviation safety is a systemic engineering effort that requires continuous attention and improvement. Any failure in a single link can lead to severe consequences. Looking at Europe, the European Union Aviation Safety Agency, EASA, has also put significant effort into aviation safety regulation. Airlines in various European countries have a strict set of standards for aircraft selection and operational management. Airlines like Lufthansa and Air France are world-renowned and invest heavily in safety. However, the 2015 Germanwings Flight 9525 crash still served as a wake-up call for the European aviation industry. This A320 passenger jet, en route from Barcelona, Spain, to Dusseldorf, Germany, was deliberately crashed into the French Alps by the co-pilot, killing all 150 people on board. This accident was not due to a technical aircraft malfunction but rather human factors, making it even harder to prevent. It reminded the entire aviation industry that, in addition to focusing on the safety of the aircraft itself, the mental health and background checks of flight crews must not be overlooked. This also shows us that the factors influencing aviation safety are too complex, and even with advanced technology, it's impossible to completely control all situations. The Indian crash, maintenance and crew factors. Returning to the recent Indian accident, reports indicate that this aircraft had been performing flights daily for the past week, approximately 2 flights a day, traveling between India and various countries including France, the UK, Germany, Australia, and Japan. Its usage frequency was remarkably high. With such frequent flights, can the aircraft's maintenance keep up? This is a significant question. We all know that an aircraft is like a precision machine that requires regular, meticulous inspection and maintenance to ensure its safe performance. If aircraft maintenance is neglected due to an overly packed flight schedule, the consequences are unimaginable. In Europe and the US, airlines have strict regulations for aircraft maintenance cycles and standards and are subjected to rigorous oversight by relevant regulatory bodies. For example, US airlines are required to perform comprehensive inspections on each aircraft after a certain number of flights. Every component, from the engines to the airframe structure, from electronic equipment to flight control systems, must be thoroughly checked. Any issues discovered must be resolved promptly, otherwise, the aircraft is not permitted to continue flight operations. In contrast, does the Indian aviation industry have some gaps in this regard? We don't know for sure, but judging from this accident, questions about aircraft maintenance are highly suspicious. There's also the factor of the flight crew. A statement from India's Directorate General of Civil Aviation indicates that the captain of the crashed aircraft had approximately 8,200 hours of flight experience, and the first officer had about 1,100 hours. From a flight time perspective, the captain is considered quite experienced, but does extensive experience guarantee safety? In aviation, while experience is crucial, psychological resilience and emergency handling skills are equally indispensable. We don't know how the flight crew responded at the moment problems emerged during takeoff. In Europe and the US, airline training for flight crews is not limited to flight techniques but also includes simulation training for various emergency situations. For instance, simulating engine failures, encountering severe weather, and communication system malfunctions allows crews to practice their response capabilities and psychological resilience in a simulated environment. Furthermore, before commencing duty, flight crews must undergo rigorous assessments, and only those who pass are allowed to fly. Additionally, airlines regularly conduct recurrent training for crews to ensure their skills and knowledge remain in excellent condition. Can Indian Airlines achieve such strict and comprehensive training for their flight crews? This also warrants further investigation and reflection. Possible causes and the role of technology. Moreover, according to aviation safety expert Marco Chen, weather conditions were stable and clear at the time of the crash, with light ground winds and 6 kilometers of visibility. There were no obvious clouds or weather phenomena, and no indications of wind shear, storms, or other adverse conditions that could have caused the accident. This eliminates weather as a cause, making it more likely that the problem lies with the aircraft itself or human operation. A veteran aviation journalist speculates that the crash might have been due to a mechanical failure, as footage before the crash showed the aircraft experiencing insufficient lift and unable to pull up. Other experts analyze that the crashed Air India Boeing 787 might have encountered a bird strike, preventing the aircraft from reaching the optimal speed required for takeoff, thus causing the accident. Of course, these are all just speculations. The ultimate cause of the accident still requires a detailed investigation by relevant authorities. But regardless of the reason, it serves as a reminder that there can be no room for even the slightest carelessness in aviation safety. From the perspective of global technological development, we live in an era of rapid technological advancement. Significant progress has been made in fields such as artificial intelligence, quantum technology, and biotechnology, and these technologies are gradually being applied to aviation. For example, artificial intelligence can be used for aircraft fault prediction and diagnosis, analyzing data collected by aircraft sensors to identify potential problems in advance for timely repairs. Quantum communication technology can improve the security and stability of aircraft communication, making air-to-ground communication more reliable during flight. However, even with these advanced technologies, aviation safety issues still persist. Why is this? In fact, while technology is powerful, it is not omnipotent. On the one hand, the application of new technologies requires a process, and unexpected problems may arise during this process. For example, new aircraft designs or the introduction of new technologies may perform well in the lab, but in a real flight environment, facing complex and variable situations, some flaws may be exposed. On the other hand, aviation safety is not just a technical issue, it also involves human factors, management factors, and many others. Even if technology is highly advanced, if human operation is improper or management is inadequate, flight safety still cannot be guaranteed. Just like the recent Indian crash, even if the aircraft was equipped with the most advanced technical equipment, if aircraft maintenance was insufficient or the flight crew made errors in critical moments, these advanced technologies would not be effective. Moving forward, a shared responsibility. This Indian passenger plane crash brings us not only grief and regret for the victims but also a deep reflection on global aviation safety. We support global technological development and hope that technology can provide stronger guarantees for aviation safety. We advocate for world safety and peace, hoping that everyone can fly safely. So, as ordinary citizens, what can we do? We can pay more attention to aviation safety information, understand the safety records and reputation of airlines, and try to choose airlines with good safety records when selecting flights. At the same time, we hope that governments and relevant departments worldwide can strengthen their oversight of the aviation industry, urging airlines to improve safety standards and increase investment in aircraft maintenance and crew training. Airlines themselves must also bear responsibility and not just pursue economic benefits while neglecting safety, the most crucial factor. Only through the concerted efforts of all parties can the skies become safer, and every flight no longer be filled with fear. That's all for today's sharing. We hope everyone takes aviation safety seriously. If you have any thoughts or opinions on today's content, feel free to leave a comment and discuss. See you next time.